Okay, I'm excited for this week because we have 16 children's book publishers now open for submission. I list them on the website and they publish all types of different work. But before you go check out those 16 publishers that are open to accepting children's picture book submissions, I have 5 tips that'll help you make sure that your submission stands out from the herd and that your voice has a much better chance of being heard. So make sure you do these 5 things before submitting so you give your story the best chance. Okay, tip number 1 is go to the publisher's website. I have links via my blog. You can go to each website, check out their catalog, see what they've already produced, and see which works are similar to the work you're trying to sell them. Remember, the works that they produced are a representation of what they're spending money on. That shows you the bets that they've made in the past and the types of books they've bought. So if you have a book that's similar in vein, you want to reflect that back to them and show them that, hey, because you printed this and this, I felt like my story was a good fit for your publishing house because it seems in alignment with some of the stories that you're looking to tell. And if you want to go a step further and go even deeper, check out the publisher's About Us section. Look at their mission statement. It won't be any longer than 2 to 3, maybe even 4 sentences. Check out what they say they're about, what their values are, what their goals are for the publishing house. And when you submit to them, you can let them know how your project is in alignment with what they hope to achieve as a publishing house. You reflect back to them the things that they say are important to them. Remember, they're the audience. They care about themselves and they care about the sale. So make sure that you're taking the time to pay attention to what they care about so that you can bring that up in your submission materials. So that's step 1. Go to the website, check out the work that they've already published, and see if any of that is similar to the work that you're looking to sell them. It doesn't have to be exact. You just want to be able to have a point of reference when you're submitting your materials. Tip number 2 is to go to the publisher's website and make sure you read their individual submission guidelines. Now, most publishers are going to want to see 3 things. We talked about this in our most recent Meetup Group in Oakland, California. If you're in the Bay Area, feel free to join. We just give out free advice and have talks about how to get your children's picture book submitted and published. They're going to want to see 3 things: your bio, your synopsis, and your entire manuscript if you're doing picture books. If you're doing chapter books, they're going to want to see your first 3 chapters. But make sure you read their individual submission guidelines because sometimes they want things a little bit differently. Most publishers take the time to make their submission guidelines really simple and easy to follow. And so it really helps them go through the submission process a lot smoother and cleaner so that you get your work seen. Some publishers will even say if you don't follow the submission guidelines, then they won't even look at your submission. So make sure that you're reading what they want from you and how they want it. Be serious about that so that you come off as a professional and somebody who's actually taking the time to look at their publishing house individually versus someone who's querying a bunch of publishing houses and not taking the time to care which one you're talking to and how they've asked us to submit the material. So tip number 2 is read the submission guidelines carefully. Make sure you are submitting the things that they've asked for in the way that they asked for it. Every publisher can be a little different, but almost all of them are going to want to see 3 things: your bio, your synopsis, and your full manuscript if you're working in children's picture books. Tip number 3 is quality over quantity. Nobody likes to feel spammed, and that includes publishers. They understand in most cases that you're submitting to multiple houses because it's a game of numbers and you have to give your story the best chance of getting picked up. But at the same time, they also want to know that you've taken the individual care to address them as an individual publishing house. So tip number 3 is quality over quantity, but at the very least, quality within quantity. Even if you want to submit to, say, 60 different publishing houses, make sure that you're taking the care of attention to speak to them individually so that they feel like you know why you're talking to them and you picked them on purpose. Tip number 4 is a question I get asked a lot, which is, do publishers accept concepts or ideas for really good stories that haven't necessarily been fleshed out into a manuscript? And in most cases, unfortunately, the answer is no. The reason is relatively simple. Ideas are one thing, but execution is another. So publishers want to see that you not only have a really great idea, but that you actually know how to execute it and build that house. I usually say concepts are seeds and stories are trees. So publishers just want to see that you can execute on the ideas that you have. And what they're buying from you, or rather licensing is the right to reproduce, is a complete script. It's a story. Now, of course, this is different if you're a public figure or someone with a massive base looking to create a story that's within your genre, like built to your audience. Then they may have different considerations, but for most of the time, the publisher wants to see the full, complete manuscript from you, and they want to be able to see that so that they know if it's right for them or not. So typically, they do not accept ideas or concepts alone that aren't accompanied by a full-fledged manuscript. Okay, number 5, last but not least, is to make sure to get your manuscript professionally edited. I can't really say this enough. There are thousands of submissions going into publishers just about every single week. And to make yours stand apart, you want to make sure that it's polished and you're not making any of the mistakes that could be avoided. So please get your work professionally edited by somebody who works in that space and does it full time, because it will make a difference in how your materials reflect to the publishing house. So make sure that you do those 5 things to give your manuscript the best chance. And I have the 16 publishers now open for submissions on the website. You can check it out, and you don't need an agent, which is really cool. So they accept unsolicited manuscripts, which means you don't need an agent. So go ahead and check those out if you're interested in that. And I say a little bit about what each publisher likes to publish on the site as well, so you get a feel for sort of what they like. But yeah, those are the 5 things that can help you stand out. You know, it's a game of numbers, so you got to give yourself the best chance. There are no guarantees, but you have to give yourself the best chance.